Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Hot Rods and Hand Grenades podcast, hosted by Explosive Customs. We're finally doing this. We're finally sitting down, finally having a chat, and we figured what better way to kick the whole thing off than one of our very own, Christian Synnestvedt.
Thank you for having me.
Well, we have you here every day, but
Right.
now it's time for everybody to get to hear what you have to say.
Yeah,
This could be good, could be bad. You never know.
we'll get the bugs worked out.
Yeah, exactly. Sorry for the weird camera angle. We're currently working with a short cord, but we'll get that figured out. It's on order. We still got to get our TV up on the wall so we can do some video interviews. But I'm excited, man. We're gonna talk, and we'll have like 4 people that watch, and
I'm nervous as fuck, but I'm just gonna wing it. I got enough dip and energy in me to have fun.
that's it. I got my nice little holder here, printed by none other than Colin LaVault over at Powder Coating Creations. So, shameless plug for our favorite neighbor.
He's got a sweet beard too.
He does have a sweet beard. Yeah.
Epic.
It's a lot of people pay a lot of money to try to grow a beard like that, and he just does it. It's just there. That guy could shave and move next door, and nobody would ever know it was him.
Good reference. Too soon.
Well, I mean, I guess we could talk about you, because it's time for that.
Me.
It'll talk a little bit about the shop and everything. We'll get there, but
That could be a very short or long conversation.
yeah, you never know. So for you, I'd like to introduce you as, kind of the local celebrity painter. Everybody knows you. Local shows and events, and, you try to drop off the face of the earth every now and then, and, if you tell people you're done painting, and they quit calling, and then one random person asks for you to do a custom paint job, and the next thing you know, you've got them lying down the block again, and you're not even trying to get the people in the door.
Yeah, you guys tease me quite a bit. I try to think I'm just a 41-year-old dad that works too much, but we go out in public and I get recognized, which is a weird feeling, especially now that I'm off social media and stuff. So it's something people dream about, being famous, but the older I get, the better my work craftsmanship becomes. I feel like I like to just be supportive as a team, not so much as an individual anymore, with maturity.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, it's...
You could toot your own horn, though. It's all right. It's you bring a lot to the table in the custom paint world.
I enjoy what I do, and I think it shines through the work.
Absolutely. So let's go back kind of to the beginning of the whole ordeal. What got you into it? What put you where you are? I know it's a long story. There's a whole lot in between, but what started your whole thing with paint and custom cars?
I guess it's as generic as I was in high school. I didn't really grow up around cars. We had an uncle in the family that always had muscle cars, so he always had a cool car, Cutlasses and stuff, mid-70s muscle. But car shows and stuff was never in our family growing up. I got to the high school point, and my dad was a professor, and I was very adamant on not wanting to go to academic school. I didn't know what I wanted to do. Some type of kinesiology or body movement was always fun to me in the fitness industry, but again, I was unsure. I was ignorant. High school, I did pretty well academically in school, but I just didn't want to go to college. So we had a group of our friends contacted Wyotech, ironically, so they sent out the promoter, if you would, to the meeting. We had dinner with the parents and the student potentials. So he sold us on signing up. There's 4 of us from Andrew High School that we all were friends prior to going. So we room and boarded together, and I knew I did not enjoy mechanical work, so I went the body shop collision refinishing program side of Wyotech. And a couple of us took street rod, which was like an elective course, taught more of the hands-on metal finishing and TIG welding, custom paint. Basically, they just gave you a taste of everything. And I think what made me do well in that aspect is because I knew nothing. So I was like a sponge. I took up to the elders, the hires in the school, the kids that were older than us that had already gone through it, and the teachers in the program were excellent. All of them had double digits. Most of them were kind of at the retirement age of doing body work and paint. So to continue education was a way of them to give back in a sense, I guess. So I went through Wyotech. I graduated high school in 2002. We took a year off to wait for one of our other good friends to join us in the program. So 2003 went out to Wyotech in Blairsville, Pennsylvania. The four of us rented a house in town. So it was neat.
Yeah.
First time being away from home, atmosphere, of course, like we're all crying, saying bye to siblings and mom and dad, etc. And turned us loose. So 4 boys with too much testosterone and acne and local townies that couldn't stand us. It was fun.
And an apartment in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah. It was a very small town. So it was new to us because I grew up in south side of Chicago, heavily populated suburbs of Chicago and stuff. So to go to that small town feel was weird. It was a whole new thing. Fast forward to that, did well, got out of Wyotech, worked at a shop in New Lenox. They got slow, and one of my still close friends of mine, Matt, he kept saying, he's like, oh, you gotta go apply to this place called Willett Coachworks. It's in Orland Park. So I did about 6 to 9 months at a body shop in New Lenox, and it like the industry does, there's highs and lows. So I took it upon myself to go introduce myself to Harry Willett and his wife Cheryl, who they weren't really hiring at the time, but I think they wound up telling me because I was so adamant. They had a front showroom that had an old Rolls Royce, and it was kind of Harry's fab shop, custom side jet, and then they had the business in the back. So we did predominantly collision work. I was with them full time. I was with them for 18 years, but then went off to random endeavors. I was always like searching for the next thing, whatever it be. So I went off, did beauty school, got my cosmetology license, did body work full time as well as the salon in Orland Park, who I still keep in touch with them, great people. So I had fun doing hair on nights and weekends, did collision work and restoration during the day. And then fast forward again through there, I was like, oh, I'm going to join the union and do this. So I was a union laborer for 4 years. Had a pretty major setback on my first DUI because I was that type of human being.
It happens.
So I went back into the painting industry. All kind of backtrack. I never stopped. I always rented houses or stayed with friends that had garages. So I was always doing side work because I enjoyed it. And
Is that part of what put you into the hair as well? Because it was kind of artistic?
See, I never looked at myself as autistic. But I've looked at myself more as a craftsman. So I took careers very, very seriously. But yeah, I mean, hair was a blast. It was a party every day at the salon. I'm a people person, as you guys know. So it was fun. Just became friends with all my clients and just new people in the chair every hour. So you meet a lot of people. So I think that because in the body shop, you have your couple employee friends and then that's it. So the salon was kind of more of my characteristic, was like outgoing and talking and whatever. So again, like Willett's, I put in a pretty lengthy amount of time. It was 18 years with them, and then I jumped shops a few here and there. Went to a custom lowrider shop, and same thing. We had another child, so I kind of had like the midlife crisis, like, oh no, I can't be doing this, no insurance, my future, whatever. So I went back into the union, and I'm kind of getting ahead of myself. But so I jumped back and forth. Bodywork was always my home base. body and paint. So then I thought I'd be a union painter. Did that for a couple years. Didn't quite finish the apprenticeship due to a second DUI. So, that being said, that was about the time I started meeting you guys.
Yeah.
Which is ironic because we were moving. I needed a place to put. I have a 1950 Chevy project that I've had forever. So I reached out to you guys through a friend of ours that you had storage available. So I got my car here, and I was kind of over the body and paint world at that point. I was like, oh, I'm just gonna pro union. And
I remember that first conversation with you about the storage, and you had said, you're like, man, I want to finish my car, but you're like, I'd love to see what you guys got going on. It'd be cool to stop and chat sometime.
Right.
And, you're like, that whole part of my life is behind me. And, I wanted to be the next Jesse James or, anything like that. And you said you just kind of wanted to be the family man and work and take care of the kids. And
I mean, most humans or adults, I think money becomes a motivator.
Absolutely.
So whether you enjoy doing what you're doing or not, it's like, well, you don't try as aggressive. Like, you're always searching for the next best thing. And financially, I was always trying to better myself financially instead of honing on the skills and bettering. And as Harry taught me when I was what does he say when you still have something behind your ears, like
wet behind the ears?
Yeah, you're still wet behind the ears. He always said, if you do what you love every day, you'll never be a day of work. And that's true. Moving forward to currently with you guys, we had a few interactions, maybe 6 months of nights and weekends playing around. You guys had some personal projects that I was enjoying being a part of. And so when I hit that second DUI, knowing that having the kids full time and not driving was approaching quickly, I sat down with you. Because from the first couple meetings with you, you're like, you got to give that shit up, get back into doing what you enjoy, and you're good at it. And
that wasn't a ploy to try to get you in here.
No,
but,
right.
I mean, that's just, I hate seeing somebody that's got so much skill and, drive to do something and be a craftsman. And I mean, this is an art form for sure. So to see somebody that's very skilled in their craft not using their skills and talents, it's just a waste. I hate seeing that no matter what somebody does. I mean, if you're good at something, you really should be doing it for a living, or at least it needs to be a very, very heart, like a hobby that your heart's in.
Absolutely. So I came with my tail between my legs and sat you down at lunch one day and said, hey, does that offer still stand? And here we are 2 years later. It's never been a day of work. We do fun and exciting things. There's days there's like, oh man, when's this job going to be done? But at the end of it, even the ones that you in the moment dread, it's like the gratification you get when it's over, or the happiness you see in the customer when you shake their hand and they come back, and the referrals that you get from that. It's all, you can't put a dollar sign on that.
No, and we're definitely fortunate to be starting to gain, some clients that, I mean, they become friends. They're part of the family here, and it's great when they come in and they're excited to go over the progress on the vehicle, or they're excited to come in and say, hey, you know what, I was thinking of maybe adding this or adding that, or we throw an idea at them and they enjoy it, and they're all for it. And obviously you got to try to keep things on budget, and we're never out to break the bank for anybody, but this is definitely something that, we've all got to earn a living as well. And, as for the last over 20 years for yourself, the hot rod industry's got a lot of ups and downs.
Right.
Definitely ups and downs. And, we're doing something that, Troy says it best. None of these cars are saving any lives. Right. So what we do really isn't important. So to be earning a living at all doing what we're doing, it's definitely a blessing. We're lucky to be able to work on toys all day long and get creative and think outside the box. And, it's nothing new. We tell you all the time, but I mean, it's been great having you on the team. You're a great addition to the team, me and Kyle and you. I mean, everything just works, and it's good to be able to pull somebody from another department and put eyes on it. And,
Right.
You know, we razz each other quite a bit. It's, you know, it's good to finish something off and you take a look at it and you're like,
But I think that's where the love and connection between us comes, because meeting you guys was, I mean, I can confidently say I met you guys at my lowest in life, drinking way too much, outside issues causing mental unhappiness. And when I met you guys, it's like the way we clicked and the friendship was just instant brotherhood, me, you, and Kyle. I mean, not since you guys don't know us yet per se. I mean, these guys are driving an hour and 20 minutes to pick me up, to come work for a couple hours, to hang out, drive me back home at midnight, 1 a.m, getting back up for the union at 4:30. It's like, because we just loved it.
yeah.
And the way we clicked and the way we worked together was we work.
Yeah.
Literally, we work. We're all here a lot of hours every week. But at the end of the week, even we're here most weekends, Saturdays, Sundays, and it's like, and Monday comes around, it's like, you forget what day it is, because in the broad scheme of things, we enjoy it.
Yeah.
It's like, there's never a day you like roll over and snooze because like, oh, I don't want to go to work today. It's like, it's never the case, which is exciting.
And that's been our toughest part, trying to find anybody else, you know, to bring onto the team, because we've got more work than we can handle. Mm-hmm. It's definitely tough to keep up with everything. You know, deadlines are non-existent because it's hard to, you know, it's hard to make a promise on a date for something when there's 3 people in the building and, you know, enough work sitting here for probably 7 people to, you know, to get it all done. You know, but then again, the ups and downs in business, you know, I mean, people's budgets, they can fluctuate. You never know what's going on in their personal lives and everything. So, you know, we've had cars over the years that sometimes you got to put them on the back burner for a little bit.
Right.
You know, other times, you know, you get people that maybe they get into a project that it ends up being a little bit more than they thought they could handle, you know, financially.
In our defense, a lot of the projects we get involved in, you don't know what's below the surface, literally. So you bring a car in, and it may look bright and shiny on the outside, and we just want to do a quick paint job or just kind of clean it up, and then you get to go, and it's like 1970, it started rusting, and you open up a can of worms, literally. Yeah. There's cars we deal with that look like cheese graters or an inch of body filler on it to make it look like it was supposed to be straight. And we put a high standard in our quality, so it's like a lot of times you got to revisit with the customer, say, hey, look, our name is on this. We give a lot, so we expect and hope they could work with us to make the end result being quality instead of just schmooze everyone over on the look.
Yeah, exactly. And really, I mean, the next few cars that we got coming out the door here are good examples of that. Mm-hmm. You know, they come in and you really have no clue what you're getting into. And fortunately enough, you know, they're for customers who have, you know, been understanding enough to know, hey, we got to get these things back down to bare metal, get these cars stripped, start from scratch. And, you know, it's a little easier to put a number to something once you start with a fresh canvas versus, you know, trying to either work back into something somebody else had their hands on or, you know, a car that you really don't know the history on.
Absolutely.
You know, you go to metal, it's going to tell everything about it. And fortunately, most of them understand it. Mm-hmm. You know, it's been good. So, and a lot of that's on me. You know, I have to communicate with the customers and educate them about what needs to be done.
Right.
So that's, you know, that's something obviously I've had to learn over the years is, you know, I guess being the owner, you know, versus being the guy that's in the shop getting the work done. And that's where I'd rather be, you know, and you guys know it. I mean, I try to be out there as much as I can, but there's a lot of days, I got some days I don't get to put a tool in my hand at all because, you know, the phone rings off the hook. And, you know, I try to call back any newcomers. I let them go to voicemail. I do get back to them within the next day or two. But, you know, when you've got a good list of clientele like we do, they call up and I'm not going to ignore their phone call. Right. You know, if I'm absolutely elbow deep in something, I'm in the middle of a job, I call them back and they know that. But I make the time for them because, you know, they're the ones that make all of this here possible for us. Absolutely. You know, without having them in here, you know, wanting to spend money to build a car, we don't have a job.
Right.
So,
And that being said, it puts a lot on our shoulders to be communicating with you as well. Because
absolutely.
at the end of the day, I'm just a glorified collision refinishing. It's like, but so the years of speed and just get it out the door for insurance quality, it's a whole nother aspect when you're in the hot rod world or custom car world, because time has nothing to do with the overall, it's the quality that goes into it. So there's no cutting corners or there's no like, hey, just make it work so it looks good driving down the highway for whatever. But yeah, so it kind of it teaches us in the long run to say, take a step back, and then that goes on your shoulders with communication with the customer, like, hey, this is the right way to do it. And we really, as far as warranty goes, doing it right from the beginning is always better.
Yeah.
And it's always cheaper, to be blunt. You do it right the first time, it saves the price of redos or
Absolutely.
leaving a bad taste on a business name due to some failed issues in the future.
And they're expensive any way you slice it.
Yep.
Start to finish, it's going to be pricey. And that's us. That's any other shop. Anybody that cares about what they're doing, that's going to give you a quality product,
Yep.
it's going to be expensive. But doing it one time is the cheapest.
Mm-hmm.
And you're definitely right about that.
Yep. Which I am guilty of. So it's neat learning off. I mean, you guys, I have 23 years of experience, and you guys are in the 10 mark. So it's like I learn so much from you guys every day. It's like take a step back, revisit, analyze, and take the approach that matters and what's going to make us look better in the end result.
Yeah.
Instead of just cutting corners, and there's no good enough in this industry.
No, definitely not.
So
So for you, as you came through, the industry, I know me and Kyle, I mean, we grew up in it, family members doing a lot of cars on the side, shops that our dad worked for that, the first place he was at, I mean, they did a few cars a year, custom cars or restorations, most of it was collision. But, I know talking with him and, anybody else that's been in this, any more than really 5 years, I guess you could say, the industry changes so much.
Yep.
So not even just a collision standpoint, but for you from the hot rod side of things, whether it's fabrication, or even the custom paint, you've dealt with pretty much every product out there in the custom world, how much of that's changed for you and how much of that seems to still be the same, even if products might have changed or something like that?
I mean, working for Willits, quality was always imprinted in me. So we always used top of the line name brand stuff. We never cut corners on product because of the warranty and the end result that you get with better products. We did at Willits. Well, going back to WyoTech, my main focus was collision refinishing, but because once I got a taste of the street rod course, it was kind of like, aha, this is the fun side of life. This is where I want to be.
Yeah.
And they get you up to par quality wise. You learn all the basics and taking that and moving forward. Once I landed the gig with Willits, we did a lot of collision work on the daily, but we did probably one or two full restorations a year as well to do fill-ins and when collision gets slow. And that was fun because it's like you can do 10 Honda Civic bumpers a week. It's like every color, whatever, from solids to metallics. And then you go to the Mustangs and Chevelles that we did pretty regularly. We did a couple one-off cars that were neat. But as far as the products, I guess it kind of would be with any career, but in this industry, things are always changing. There's always the new better. And I think at the end of the day, whether it be a high-end product or just a Bob's Backyard Bondo quick kind of like company, the basics are always the same. Mm-hmm. If you do everything right and you follow the correct procedures, you're going to get decent end results. I think what comes with the quality is the longevity. Generically, just clear coat as an example is like the shine and the UV protection and the longevity of the job, keeping its tip top look is important. Yeah, we've used them all. I mean, between you guys and the shops I've been at, we've covered all aspects from top name brands to quick budget type materials, and we found what works. We found a few brands that we enjoy in house that we're gonna stick to and stand by because based on experience and just seeing I don't know what the term would be, but maybe just the quality of the end results, that having used it for so many years and knowing that it's not going to fail us. So
Yeah, definitely.
but yeah, there's always alternatives to use cheaper, less quality products, but we've gotten past that overall as a business.
So, high quality products and high quality work, paying attention to detail, things like that. You were fortunate enough to have your hands on a pretty prestigious vehicle. You took a pretty good part in helping somebody, I guess, achieve and win the AMBR Award. And that's something that not a lot of people get to say they were a part of. That's definitely something that's up there for, the best in the business. Says a lot about the shops. It says a lot about the hands that are in the shops, the employees, and the members of that whole team. And for you, I know that car was a long time in the making.
Yeah.
Specifically for Harry, but for you, I guess let's talk a little bit about what that was like for you and your role in that whole deal. And certainly I'd love to get Harry on here and let him talk about that as well, because
Right.
it's to get to walk around in that guy's head for a little while would be absolutely incredible. But what was that like for you? And from your perspective, for as long as you got to see that car being built, and as long as you got to be a part of that car being built, all the way to the finished product, how was that for you? As far as, I mean, being a part of that car had to be incredible.
Mm-hmm.
And what kind of impact do you think that had on your career?
It was an honor to be a part of that build. I started with Willits. The car was pretty much done. He had some metal fab to finish up, so that was kind of a turning point in my career as far as like 8 to 5, show up, get your work done, and go for the collision aspect. But with Harry building that car while I was an employee, I no longer was punching in and out. I'd show up to work an hour, 2 hours early because Harry's in his shop working on his car. So I got to be the guy that held the panel while he was punching louvers in the hood and doing the underbody kits and stuff. So I was more or less, I was Harry's shadow at that point with the car. He didn't have me do anything on my own per se with the build, but just being a part of it, holding metal. I learned a lot from that man doing that car. Again, it goes back to not cutting corners, doing things right the first time. If it's not to the absolute best it can be, you redo it.
Absolutely.
So I was involved in helping him, holding things, and just witnessing what that man was capable of doing. And then there was lots of I mean, he did all the paint, body, and fabrication on that as well, the electrical. There were a handful of shop friends that were always a part of it to be there for helping hands and when needed. There were a lot of summer days of him and I wet sanding in the sun with no t-shirts on outside in the back, wearing no shoes because when you got the hose running, it was fun. Music blaring, and Harry and I and Cheryl, we became very close. I called them mom and dad. I still to this day do. But it was fun just watching that thing flourish. And then when the news back then, newspapers came and did the shoots with him and wrote the article. I think because I was in it, I didn't understand it fully. I just got to watch this man build that caliber of car. But then now that I've been away from the shop, and because they have now currently the shop is long closed, they're retired, and just seeing that the hype that the car still gets, or seeing old photos on SEMA's or America's Most Beautiful Roadsters website and bringing that back up for flashbacks and stuff. It's neat because it's like, not that I had my hands fully involved with doing it, but it was just to be a part of the family building that car was fun.
Yeah, yeah, and that car, I mean, that car had a large part in bringing you and Harry and Cheryl as close as you were. I mean, that company, I mean, you know, just like any other shop, I'm sure there were a lot of people in and out of there over the years. You know, and not that it was ever any bad situation either. You know, I mean, just people come and go. You get people that get into it and they don't, you know, maybe they don't have an interest, or they find another opportunity or something like that. You know, people retire. You know, I mean, there were quite a few people who retired out of there as well over the course of time that you worked, you know, with them.
Yeah, some of the best guys that I've learned the most from were in their 60s. Just learning the basics from bodywork all the way to paint with those guys, it was amazing.
Yeah.
But I think here, even though I was young, I started at Willits on the couple weeks after my 21st birthday. So young, dumb, full of vinegar. I think they saw past my age ignorance and just saw I became a sponge with them, and because once you start putting your skills to work, all the egos and everything gets left at the door. It's
Absolutely.
Just like, obviously there was a huge age gap between Harry and I, but I think we just bonded so well because he saw me as maybe the potential to be a mini protege of himself. Just the drive was there. I was coming to work early, staying late, so I was willing to give to receive the knowledge that he offered. So
yeah, and I can say, you know, more than 20 years later for you, I mean, there's still a lot of that here. There's mornings when you're just hyped about something, and you know, there's times you're the first one here because you just had to get something done.
yeah,
you
I
know,
didn't finish last night. It's got
you know, or you're here late, you know, and you know, the passion. I mean, even now the projects that you have going on, you know, some of the bikes that you're doing right now, and you know, the paint work is. It's good to see that the momentum is building again for you on the custom side of things.
Yeah. Yeah, finding that passion and burning desire is there full fledged.
Yeah, and now you're right back to you know, pretty much a line of people waiting to have custom paint done. You know, the bikes seem to be the most popular kind of deal, and they don't take up quite as much room. You know, which it makes them nice. You know, whether you're doing it in a garage or, you know, here or anywhere else. You know, it's nice when you can do a motorcycle that doesn't, you know, it's not an elephant in the room.
Right.
You know, we've had quite a few projects in here that, you know, physically take up a whole lot of space. It's nice when you start getting them all together and the footprint gets smaller and smaller, and then they, you know, they fit out the door again. But for you, along with, you know, obviously doing your collision work from day to day and the restorations you took a part in, you know, the side work is always a big one. And I feel like, you know, I'm a big believer in the side work side of things because, you know, I didn't come from a family that owned a hot rod shop. You know, I mean, my dad had, you know, his paint business and everything, and he did the bikes and the cars and boats and all sorts of stuff for quite a while, but he started in the garage. You know, my grandfather started in the garage, and, you know, he made great money on the side for himself for years. You know, he had a day job, and that paid the bills, and anything that they wanted to go do was funded by that garage.
Right.
And those are the people that really drive the industry, I would say, more than any of the shops like us. Because, yeah, we're here and we're all working and we're getting these cars done, but, you know, currently, I mean, there's only 3 of us in this shop, you know, and go to any other big hot rod shop anywhere, there's not that many people inside that building, and there's only so much work that you can get done. But there's millions of guys at home that punch a clock somewhere, they get home, and they're building some car that they're passionate about in the garage, or they're doing a car with their neighbors, or they're doing a car with, their friends or family members or anything like that. And those are the guys that, they see the things that shops are doing, and magazines are publishing them, or websites are posting them, or they see them at the shows and they're on display, up with some of the best cars there. And those guys walk around and they gather ideas from cars like that.
Right.
Or they look at things and realize that, they've done the things that these big shops do. And those people are the ones that are spending the money with the suppliers and the parts products and, everything like that. You want to scroll through a Jegs catalog or, Summit or anything like that. Any of the big names out there that supply parts, engines, transmissions, body panels, everything and anything you need to build a hot rod. It's not the shops like us. We're a small percentage of sales for them. Their largest percentage is the guys that are at home spending that money on a car for themselves or a family member or something like that. So I'm always big on the side work because that's where we all started. We all started in a garage, and that's, really what pushed us to have an interest in it. Even for you, I mean, you gained an interest in it, obviously, as you came through a career, but the more side work you did and the more you got to work in a garage somewhere, the more passionate you became about it, because every time you finish something, you wonder what you can do better the next time and what you can do better the next time.
And I think the side work is, I mean, the grand scheme of it is it's a way for the customer to save a little bit of money, but taking that out of the equation, I think, because you get in a norm where our shop has, I'd say we kind of have a niche of a line of work, and same with Willits, we're collision based, and it's like when you get the side work, you could go outside of your boundaries.
Yep.
And I think going back to the bike aspect, or the joke around here is like, I flake everything. And that's because I've always had a love for that 70s, 80s lowrider style artwork, and I just never knew how to do it or grasp it. But just my love for it was like, I was able to take side jobs and practice. And that's what the bottom line is, just painting the first motorcycle tin in metal flake and then clearing it and then laying candies over, or making your own candies because you can't afford to buy the house of color name brand line. And so then when you get customers that are willing to let you kind of have your artistic freedom, if you would, yeah, I agree. I think the side work is what bringing me to my current line of work with you guys. Is the side work probably is where I learned the most, because that's where you mess up. Yep. And you learn why or how to change it to make it better. And then you take the stress of the customer not spending as much as like the shop labor rate, when it doesn't come out perfect per se. They're more accepting of it, where it's like, okay, so you can learn and exactly how do I do it better next time. And side work, you can focus more on volume. So I don't know. I mean, I painted for another very close friend of ours. They own Southside Cycles in Orland Park. I was his bike painter for a while. So it's like when you're getting a bike a week or a bike, 1-2 bikes a month, you really have to fine tune how to get that quality out and quicker and less mistakes. And so I think just the volume of doing side work is pretty much catapulted me to perfect the quality aspect of it.
And with that perfecting the quality, how was that first one? How'd that first one go?
I still have the tank. It's from my first Harley. It's awful. I mean, when you leave Wyotech, you think you're brainwashed. You think you're the best, and you have the knowledge behind you, but you don't have the hands-on, the years experience. And I'll never get rid of that tank. It's humorous, but the runs and sags in the metallic layer, and then the candies and the lack of crispness in the lines and stuff. So it's humorous to see that very first custom job I did compared to some of the bikes I've done in the last 5 years that have gotten awards and really impressed the masses. Every day I'm trying to better, and I've always had a pretty good critic on my side that has a very artistic background. So she would always, what's that? fix that. That's crooked.
Pointing out all the flaws right away for you. Yep.
That's a good thing to have on your side too, because it was structural criticism, which I think helps the three of us here at the shop as well.
Yep.
We take criticism very well. The three of us we range in ages as well, but again, the arrogance leaves at the door, where it's like, I know you could do better, or hey, what's that? When you call it out, it's like, instead of trying to, how do I snake that by, or how do I hide that? It's like, just fix it now and have the bragging rights at the end result. But,
Yep.
So
the shows and the awards, we got to see, a little bit of that just since we've known you. But along with doing the collision and doing the restorations, another big thing that you got to be a part of when you were at Willits was World of Wheels here in Chicago. What was your role with that? And, I'm sure you had a whole lot of roles, or probably quite a few hats that you, Harry, and Cheryl had to pass back and forth quite a bit to finish your part of that. And I know there's a very large board of people who are involved with making that show what it is. But how did that work for you? What was that role like? And
that was a blast. Like I said, with the 18 years full time, but again, I was with Willits total of like 21 or so years, on and off with the hiatuses. But World of Wheels for me started out as Harry and Cheryl leaving the shop on Wednesday, and the show being that weekend. So it started as me answering phone calls, emails, dealing with insurance. Pretty much, they put the trust in me to run the shop. So it had nothing World of Wheels related, but it started structuring me to be more responsible. Which, again, they'd be like, hey, we forgot such and such paperwork, so I'd be running down the show office to bring Harry and Cheryl what they needed, and then back to the shop. And as the years went on, the show involvement was, I was picking up a lot of the celebrities from the airport, or running around, driving the shuttle bus, whatever, filling in whatever needed to be done as far as the show, to make the show keep rolling. So I did meet a lot of high-end car industry people. Became very close friends with Troy Trepanier because of Harry and Jack's friendship. And
I need to fix our charging system here real quick. We're working out the bugs, like I said. Apologize for that.
And we're back. So the World of Wheels was, I was the go-to guy, running around, filling in whatever. Harry's main role in the show is the floor plan and acceptance committee. So I was able to sit in on meetings periodically and at the office and get to know the backstage side of the show, which, it was funny, for years on end. I mean, I knew everyone's names, I knew the floor number and the car, but it's like when the show was over, it's like, did you see such and such? It's like, no, I was there, but I didn't see any of the show. And that catapulted all moving forward on that. It's like you become friends with so many people at the show and the industry, as well as always, because of the side jobs and stuff. I many years in a row, I'd have cars or bikes in the show, which was enjoyable, because then I think that kind of goes back to where you said, like, I know so many people. So it's like, we go to the show and people are like, oh, Christian. It's like, and it's fun. It's neat to know, like, for so many years, I was a part of that. So that was, and now I just go as a spectator, which is just as enjoyable. Get to go hug mom and dad and see everyone and see each section of the show and all the judges, and just the friendships over the years I've built with everyone involved, including Pete, who runs the Chicago show. And yeah, it's neat. And then going with you guys is a whole nother aspect, because I was behind the scenes so long. Now I get to walk around with you guys and and enjoy it on a spectator friendship aspect, and
Yeah.
seeing what's out there just like makes us that much better. Like, how do we do that, and how same getting the clientele and building the business as a whole.
Yeah, it's a show I look forward to every year, and being obviously being that it's we're so close to the convention center and everything, it's not a horrible drive.
Right.
We're not. There's people that travel, from way downstate or from out of state,
Right.
just to make it in for that. Quite a few shops, they travel the whole circuit, and that's something that we definitely plan to get to eventually. I'd really love to start getting into some of the road tours as well, and being able to travel. Traveling on the road with the clients, getting them out with the cars,
Right.
and multiple clients at the same time is always a good time, because whether you're hitting a local show or traveling for something, it's great when you get them together and then they become friends, and swapping stories about not only the cars that they've had done, with us or other shops, cars that maybe they started out doing cars at home in their
Right.
garage, because just like the rest of us, we can't all afford to have a car built. So you do them at home, and you do them with the resources that you have and the knowledge that you have. And, you read magazines, you look online,
Magazines, what's that?
analog internet.
Right. Yeah.
So it's always good to have conversations with all of them, and, find out where their knowledge came from or their interest for it. And, much like this conversation here, wanting to know what put you where you're at, and
Right.
what gave you that interest, and what continues to inspire you to do this every day. And, it's, I know for me, it's a passion. It's always been a passion of mine. I feel like I might have got started full time on the hot rods a little later than I wanted to, but I don't think I'd be sitting here with you right now if I did it any other way than I did.
Yeah,
So
we're in it.
yeah.
Yeah, it's been a fun road. Like I said, I think this will be my 24th year doing paint and body. And I mean, going back to the World of Wheels, it's the type of show that the guy that built a car in his garage in the last 10 years is able to debut it, and his friends and family can see it. And he's parked right next to some of the top builders in the world doing $1,000,000 car builds. So it's fun for on a people person aspect, where you and I and Kyle, we could walk around with our friends and colleagues and acquaintances and see, like, appreciate the work that guy put in, and right next to the same cars, like the craftsmanship's amazing.
Yeah.
But I think just seeing those cars as a team, for us, it motivates us to do better. And the three of us not wanting to let each other down keeps us driven and keeps our... I think we're all very goal-oriented, and I think we are probably structured to a flaw, to where...
Probably.
And I've always worked too much, but I think that, in a sense, is like a hidden gift, because, like, nothing's ever good enough, and there's always better people out there. There's more work to be done, and it's gratifying in the sense of, like, not selfishly, but like, how do I get more involved? And at the end of the day, it's just apply yourself and work, and care, respect and care for what you're dishing out as well.
Yeah.
And I think the three of us share that, where it's like something as simple as, like, showing each other what we did was like, we laugh at each other because, like, yeah, that's your job. We're getting paid to do that. Now keep going. But on the flip side, it's like, but look what we did. Like, this is so cool. And we get so hyped with each other's progress on the aspects of the shop that we do. And that in itself, just like, whether it be something in the paint shop or in the fab shop, or even like hearing a motor run for the first time, it's like, it just amps us so much internally to, like, keep going. Like, let's finish it and, like, get the next job and make the next customer happy and build that relationship, like you said. And, like, or going to a show with them, and they go out to dinner with us, and it's like stuff like we've experienced in the last couple of years, where it's just neat. And to just, I think being genuine, hardworking people at the end of the day is why we've had the success that we're at currently in life, and we're still growing.
Yeah, yeah, and we talk weekly. I mean, sometimes daily on obviously everything that we love about this industry and everything that we love about what we're doing here.
Right.
Certainly it's tough to speak on what anybody else is doing because we're inside these walls every day here. But something that I definitely want to ask everybody that we have on here is, what's something that you're unhappy with in the industry and something that you'd like to see change?
I don't know.
I know for me, it's and we're good about it here. You said it. We leave the ego at the door.
Mm-hmm.
We don't come in here and ever, we don't belittle the customers and we don't belittle each other. We definitely give each other a hard time. Nobody's safe around here. Everybody gets picked on. Ourselves, customers, everything.
Mm-hmm.
People come in and it's instantly a trash talk fest. Everybody likes to give each other a hard time, but
if we didn't like each other, we wouldn't do that.
no, and that's it. And it comes from a place of just friendship and playing around with each other. But for me, it's the ego. There's a lot of shops out there that the ego's too big.
I agree. Yeah.
And so I guess that's my example of kind of what I'd love to see because I haven't been in business nearly as long as some of these other shops, and there's a lot of shops that we network with and we work very closely with. We have some great relationships with a lot of people around us, guys that have been in the industry longer than us, guys that are new to the industry as well. And, I've got a lot of respect for every single one of them, but I've also had a lot of shops that have wanted to work with me. I started out by myself, and early on, I tried to buddy up with everybody because there's always somebody that brings something to the table that you don't.
Mm-hmm.
Just like there's something that I know I bring to the table that other places don't. And now, with employees here and more skill, more talent, more thought, everything like that, collectively we bring something to the table that some places can't offer.
Mm-hmm.
And that still holds true that they offer something that we don't. So working together with other businesses has been a huge thing for me from the get-go. And every shop that, we may have crossed paths and started to work together, if they had too much ego, they were the downfall of themselves, basically.
I agree on that. Yep.
I can definitely say that every single shop that had a little too much ego, they were too proud to try to work with other places, ask questions, take constructive criticism, even give constructive criticism.
Mm-hmm.
They're no longer in business. So it's a very short-lived career when you refuse to be open to learning
Mm-hmm.
and to networking. So I know I'd love to see that change. I think more shops need to work together on this type of stuff. There's plenty of work to go around. I don't get my feelings hurt anytime somebody calls here and, they want an estimate on doing a job or they bring a car and we look at it and, they may not come back. And I say every time, I hope they found the right place for them.
Yeah, absolutely.
There's so many shops out there that do great work. And I'm all about praising every single one of them because we're all different. We all have our own little style. We all have our own little niche that we bring to the table. So the ego amongst shops and the hostility amongst shops, it's one thing if somebody burns you, I can understand that. Mm-hmm. But when we're all collectively working towards the same goal, you do a lot better when you help them.
I agree. To elaborate on your ego, we've both in our career paths, we've come across some certain individuals and shops that I think when your ego's too big, it hinders your quality. And I think the ones that have those higher egos and they keep that my shit doesn't stink attitude,
Yep.
their work isn't as, it doesn't look good.
No,
But
they hype
so
themselves up more than.
The ego is more of the forefront than the work showing itself. That being said, I think with ego, it like the willing to like. There's always people that are better than us.
Absolutely.
In every aspect of the shop, and once the ego is too big, you stop learning. And I think the way, going back to products and materials, and it's like I've been doing things for 20 plus years, and we make the jokes. It's like, man, I feel like I want to go back to school, because like some of the things I've been doing for 20 years straight is like, maybe there's a new way. And just to be an open book and willing to learn will just make us that much better. But you bringing up ego kind of helps me answer the flip side of that. And I think you could probably elaborate more on the business aspect of being an owner. One thing that I've learned being so close to the owners of the shops that I've worked for, and this could probably be a whole nother podcast, is the financial side of this industry. Not that it needs to change, but I think there needs to be more awareness that at the end of the day, me, you, Kyle, we have bills to pay and homes and kids to feed, and it in today's economic aspect of it is like everything costs money.
Yep.
And us being per se the hot rod shop or custom car industry is almost like an elective class at school. It's like, okay, it's like math and science are going to get you to college, but yeah, you can take this art class and fart around, and it's really not that valuable. And I think that same thing goes to this industry, where it's like the collision shop or the teachers or the whatever career path it is. It's like I think COVID showed a lot of that, to where what's the term that they're using? The necessary.
Being like a I forget
what's the term. It got real big during COVID. There's
essential.
Thank you. Essential business. And I think on the extreme side, we're not essential. These are our industry, are people that they want a toy done, and it's not what's getting them to work every day. It's not something that's helping them pay the bills. It's an added expense in their life. So I think on that aspect, financially, our shop's type of work is the first thing to get cut when someone has a job layoff. Yep. Or they have a budget in there. I think this kind of will go hand in hand with budget. It's like every shop has a different hourly rate, and depending on the quality and products used and stuff, it's going to fluctuate. But at the end of the day, I think people need to realize that this is the kind of industry where time is money, and it's not like, okay, you take this door or fender and it pays 1.2 hours, like in the collision aspect of things, like, and whether you're $33 an hour for insurance work or whatever, there's a wide range in that tier as well. But one day you're working on a 70s muscle car with rust, and the next day you're working on a lifted SEMA truck with brand new bolts on it, and it's kind of like that rusty car is going to take 4 or 5 hours to do the same exact task that takes 17 minutes on the newer body style. It's like, at the end of the day, to kind of tie it in with the financial, it's like, I think our industry takes a big hit to where it says like the time that it really takes to build these cars. And I think some of the top name shops that we deal with personally, and then that have more of the publicity view with TV shows and stuff, they kind of make it aware, like anything you're good at, it looks easy. And then some of those shops, like on TV and stuff, they start expressing what it costs to build a car. And I think that kind of makes the everyday hot rod enthusiast like, it's like, oh, that car was over $2 million to build, and there was 5 years in the making. And if you think about it, it's like that 5 years was 5 employees' salary day in and day out to feed their families, to pay that. Yep. So it's like
nobody was running away with a bag of cash.
No.
On that car. or on any car like that.
Even the ones on TVs, like the ones that we can relate to personal level, friendships that we've met and relationships, is like we know where they live. We've seen their houses. They're not driving Maseratis and Ferraris. It's like because it's the labor that it takes isn't some. They're not running, like you said, they're not running off and becoming millionaires on building someone's $1 million car. It's they had to feed the 6 employees in the shops, families, and it's at the end of the day, it's a career. We got to make money.
Yep.
But I think as a whole, maybe I'm going on a tangent, but I think being more aware or knowledgeable about the industry, like it's expensive because of the time that it truly takes. And there's shops out there that they cut corners, and there's always gonna be shops that could do it cheaper than us. But at the end result is like, and maybe from in a cruise night situation, like the cars may look similar from just in passing. Mm-hmm. But when you look at the fine details and the fit and finish and things, like you and I hanging the Mustang door the other night, where it's like the car, it was perfect, but we did a couple tweaks, two more hours on tweaking it with two techs involved. Right? It's like there has to be a dollar aspect to that, and it's like there's when you and I and Kyle, we give 40 to 60 hour weeks, and out of that 40 to 60 hours per tech, it's like how many hours of that was free. It's like we give a lot in this industry. And
definitely.
At the end of the day, it's like when the bill comes to fruition, I should say. It's kind of like sometimes you got to take a step back. It's like, and I think you and I, with side work involved, like sometimes we'll kind of say, hey, here's what we would have charged, but here's your price. Is like, and it puts comfort in it, but at the same ticket, it's like there's overhead, there's a whole bunch of hidden aspects of the business that we're not just going in our garage at night and painting bikes and you pay for material and my time is here, whatever, but there's a big overhead in this industry that I don't think people are aware of.
Yeah. And I do hope that, as we get more episodes out and, hopefully we gain a decent following. That is one of my goals with this whole project here is to try to educate, people on a consumer level for something like this, because it doesn't matter if you're here spending money or you're down the road spending money with any of the other hot rod shops. And there's so many of them. And again, there's so many that do great work. Mm-hmm. So find one that fits you and, spend the money with them, because everybody that's in those shops, they're passionate about what they do and they absolutely love it. And I'm sure every single one of them would do the work for free if they could. I know I would. I love this. Right. For me, it's a passion. From the time I walk in the door here to the time I go home, I enjoy working on cars, custom cars. But unfortunately, we can't do it for free.
Right.
And because this is something that is not an essential type of work, nobody needs a hot rod. Nobody relies on that car to go to work every day. Nobody relies on that car to save any types of lives, anything like that. It's something that I guess if you're going to have a car built somewhere, make sure you have the budget for it. Make sure you're willing to spend the time, wait the time to have the vehicle done correctly. Mm-hmm. Because no matter where you're at, the hands that are on that car building that piece of artwork for you, those people, they're passionate about it. They care about what they're doing. And any reputable place is going to give you free hours, no matter what. There's always hours that end up not making it to your invoice because they're passionate about what they're doing. They're not going to charge you an extra 2 hours on something that, they could have just left it and it would have been acceptable, but it wasn't what they wanted. It wasn't their vision for it. And that's when they start putting the heart into it. You get that time for free because they want it to be perfect. And right. When you get that car back, some of those small details that, when it comes down to a judging standpoint, some of those small details that are done that were given to the client those are the types of details that take that car to the next level. You could park it next to one just like it, but those small details are what really, set that vehicle off and really help them win the awards that they're hoping to get. So some of that stuff, in a way, some of that stuff can't be paid for.
Correct.
So I'm with you on that for sure.
As well
It'd
as
be
the
nice
experience.
Yeah, absolutely.
The experience that the tech has, the tools that he's got to buy to make the job easier or done correctly. Yep. These are all other aspects where it's like the carpenter that brings his own tools. There's that little story where it's like the carpenter that brings his own tools to build the stairs gives a price. He's like, well, my buddy will do it for half that. But the buddy also has to go borrow everything, and the bottom step is loose. And it's like, so again, with the financial side of it, is like you're paying for the quality up front, but you're also paying for the knowledge that tech has putting into it, and the hidden tools that he's got to use to make the job work. Because no one gets into any business and just says, okay, here's everything you need, now make money.
Yeah,
So
and that's on an owner level, that's on an employee level,
right.
That's we all whatever you get into. I mean, even when you got into the painters union,
right?
You walk into that and there's a lot you got to learn.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely.
And you probably learn something new every week because that industry changes or regulations change. Any of the standards that different towns or cities or anything like that you were working in, there's codes that you have to meet with, right. With everything, all that stuff changes. So, for us, certainly there's a baseline for what something should be when a hot rod's done. But that is the beauty of this industry is we write the playbook when we're doing the car, yep. Just like any other shop writes their own playbook when they're building a car. Things have to be safe. Structurally, everything's got to be there, but cosmetically, the sky's the limit. There's nobody that's going to come in and tell you, exactly how it should be done. What the end product needs to be.
Right.
But there's so many different styles and techniques and tooling and equipment and everything like that to get you to that finish line. And from a consumer standpoint, people need to definitely do their homework. And it's not always a bad thing. It's if we're not a fit for somebody, it doesn't mean that, we're not a good shop. Just like if somebody comes to us after they've gone to 3 or 4 other places, it doesn't mean that those shops weren't good shops. It just means that particular shop that they went to was a better fit for them, right. From a style standpoint, or maybe they just got along with everybody in the building better. Mm-hmm. And working with other places and learning, that's one thing that I try to do is, I love to let you guys be as involved with the project as I can, so, when the customers do come walking through the door, you guys get along with them great, and you guys are able to have conversations with them, and you guys are able to go over where you're at with the project with them.
Right.
And, there's times when maybe we haven't been able to talk yet on where you left off with something. And so sometimes you guys know more about the project than I do because I'm not the one with my hands on that particular car. I'm at the other side of the shop working on something else.
Exactly.
So the communication, within the shop, within, the relationships with the customers and other businesses and parts vendors and everything like that, I think everything comes down to communication.
True. Yeah, being loyal and respectful and communicating, they go a long way.
Big time. So, well, I think we covered all of it. And you got anything else you want to add?
No, it was nerve-wracking but fun. The start of something new.
That's it. We're figuring this out.
Yeah.
I know we got a lot of ideas for a lot of episodes. A lot of great people that we're going to have on here, and I think the more and more we sit down with people and the more conversations we have, the more we're going to realize, and everybody that watches will realize, we're all just normal people.
Yep.
We're all working for a living.
Normal.
and we're
What is normal?
really no such thing.
We are the norm.
I appreciate you sitting down with me, man. I know we've been talking about this for months, and
Yeah.
we finally made it happen.
I'm glad you made me do it.
Yeah, you walked in here on your own. I didn't carry you in. So, but yeah, thanks again, man. Happy to have you on the team, and
I'm glad to be a part of it.
it's there's a lot that we've got going on. There's a lot that we have in the works, and there's a lot of stuff getting ready to head out the door here pretty soon. And I'm looking forward to getting them out, photo shoots and
Yep.
shows and cruise nights and travel shows, everything. It's gonna be a good time. So we got a good summer ahead, and
Yeah, a couple big shows planned, a couple personal projects getting out on the road, a couple customer jobs getting finished up in the next few months.
Yep.
We've kind of been in hiding on purpose for a little while, which I think
Yeah.
is good because we needed to find our fit, and pretty soon here we're gonna let the work show
yep.
where we are.
Yeah, I mean, really, since we moved into this building, I mean, I get on and off social media quite a bit, and I'll post things for a week or two, or maybe a month, and then, I kind of fall off of that because I'm more focused on trying to get things done
Right.
than posting things. It's tough to keep up with the social media side of things, and I'm working on it, finding a balance for it. There's plenty of apps now that make things a little bit easier. I can just plug a few things in and
Yeah.
schedule when it posts itself online. But yeah, I'm looking forward to finishing some of these projects with you guys and getting them out
Absolutely.
there and meeting more people, traveling to shows, and finding more people that want to sit down and have conversations like this.
Right. Cheers.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah.
Have a good one, dude.
Thank you.